On a fairly innocent update of 42, Arcane Persistence is introduced alongside the 9 new arcanes that you can either get it from the weekly Descendia mission or buy it through Roathe and hope that the crate breaking room is actually a thing this week. Arcane Persistence is an arcane that had found itself going through some ups and downs, known as a crutch to the issue that bothers Warframes who survives through health, but undeniable was its strength regardless. So why? Rhino isn't a frame that survives through health at all. In fact, he has no reason to interact with a health bar at all due to Iron Skin. There's nothing for Arcane Persistence to work on, or is it? We all knew that Persistence allows your health to take at most 500 damage per second, but renders you shieldless as if you are neither Inaros or Kulavo. And there are problems such as corrosive and hit proc putting your armor below 700, true damage sources for example /DOT, magnetic procs usually from energy leech Eximus units, nullifying effects like silence from violence, nullifier bubbles, etc. You are also required to have an insane amount of healing per second in order to upkeep the drain, usually at the cost of a subsume slot like Omamori, Well of Life, or Gloom. It also has a strong demand on maximum health as you need a bit of buffer so that you can actually breathe and not sweat like crazy. That is also why I deem Inaros, Nidus, and Oroxia the top 3 of Arcane Persistence user, with Grendel being just behind any of them by a tiny bit. They all have huge health pools to work with, have strong methods of healing either through abilities or arcane grades, and can circumvent around 3 out of the 4 issues that makes Arcane Persistence way less viable due to status immunity. But unfortunately, I lied. The truth is, none of them is remotely close to Arcane Persistence Rhino. It all starts with a video by Warframe Flow, where he talks about Rhino, precisely a small, very unassuming section that he mentions Arcane Persistence.
Arcane Persistence. Now, I'm sure many of you know what this arcane does. Many of you kind of hated the fact that it got nerfed a little bit. What this arcane actually does is limits the damage dealt to Overguard to 500 every 1 second. Yes, technically speaking, this makes it not ideal for you to use it on a frame like Rhino because you remove his shields and then you rely purely on his Overguard. But if you use Omamori with it, it adds an extra...
I'm sure that Warframe Flow has somewhat revealed you the real answer, which is the fact that any sort of Overguard takes only 500 damage per second, but it's not entirely true. Arcane Persistence is actually weaker on Overguard. Instead of capping damage taken to 500 damage per second, it only forces a single instance of hit every second to cap at 500 damage, with an internal cooldown of 1 second. Wow, that's pretty trash, right? That's why there's this line under the part where the synergy is listed, not just Dianex. It's basically all Overguard gating frames because they tend to shoegate in tandem with Overguard gate as the levels climb. Investing in an arcane slot, some armor shard to reach just the right amount of armor, sacrifice the ability to shoegate just to have their Overguard last a bit longer is simply not worth it. Though the opposite actually happens on Rhino. Rhino basically circumvents 3 out of the 4 issues on the get-go due to status immunity. Iron Skin is also an ability that has a 1-to-1 scaling with enemy damage. Any sort of reduction that can even tip the scales to benefit Rhino is immediately considered broken. Lowering an instance of damage to 500 every second seems whatever, but this can snowball insanely quick and reaches its peak at level cap, capable of reducing tens of millions of damage down to a measly 500 for a single instance every second. And you might as well consider it dealing no damage because of Rhino's 31.6 million Overguard. Also, Rhino Storm can counter violence, the nightmare to all Arcane Persistence enjoyer. Let that sink in. Not to shit on Warframe Flow or anything, but it is absolutely wrong to think that Arcane Persistence Rhino falls off at level cap, because Arcane Persistence Rhino is actually in its most powerful state due to how Rhino interacts with enemy damage. On top of that, Rhino doesn't need to worry about health maxing, no need to worry about maintenance. No need to care about whether the health regen is enough to maintain the drain. No need to dedicate a subsume slot for it. And the investment needed to get all of this going is as simple as the Arcane itself and 2 Tauforge Azure to go past 700 armor on Rhino Prime. It is also very likely that you already have Reinforcing Stomp equipped on Rhino. Regenerating any lost overguard is as easy as pressing a button. Losing shields for Rhino is also non-existent. Other than messing with your muscle memory at the start of a mission, shields are irrelevant to Rhino's main way of surviving. If anything, Rhino also have a technique called 0.5 second Iron Skin Seam Through, capable of making you take absolutely no damage to shields, let alone your health. There's nothing you really need to worry about. This is why I claim that Rhino is the strongest Arcane Persistence user. The heavy investment nature of Arcane Persistence is non-existent on Rhino, and you also don't need to worry about not having enough regeneration, nor having enough buffer to get yourself some breathing room, simply because of Iron Skin, enemy damage, and Rhino Storm plus Reinforcing Stomp. Before I show you the run past 107 exos, this is my build for Rhino. Eternal War so that Roathe can last eternally, while giving me some armor to hit the requirement once 283% strength is reached via Growing Power plus Motorized Sling Strength. Shard wise, this is what I opted for. If you don't like Warframe and want to go something else, slot in 2 Tauforge armor shards instead. Arcarius Prime is here to help me deal with Nullifier Bubbles and Acolyte killing. Although there are much better picks out there, this is what I opted for. Melee wise, it's the melee influence slot you'd expect for a melee focused Rhino. I literally made a video about it, by the way. Pet wise, the usual Death Cube Prime to aid my energy economy more via Mystic Bond, Manifold Bond, Energy Generator, and Sin Deconstruct. Vsauce is just there to help me reach the critical chance to proc Tenacious Bond, and maybe Archon Stretch if you could mod for it. And yeah, that's all for the commentary. Enjoy the run.